The television studio is a sleek, modern affair, its polished black floor reflecting the bright lights that bathe the set in a crisp glow. The audience, a diverse mix of students, professionals, academics, and curious onlookers, fills the tiered seating, their murmurs creating a low hum of anticipation. A large digital screen behind the stage flashes the debate's title in bold letters, Woke Culture versus Free Speech, The Battle for the University. The host, a charismatic broadcaster named David Langston, steps into the spotlight, his tailored suit and easy grin signaling his knack for orchestrating intellectual fireworks. He welcomes the audience, both in the studio and watching at home, with practiced charm, framing tonight's clash as a defining moment in the cultural zeitgeist. The stakes, he says, are nothing less than the future of higher education and the principles that shape society. He introduces the two debaters, and the crowd leans forward, sensing the storm brewing. On one side is Dr. Emily Thornton, a sociology professor from a prestigious East Coast university, her reputation built on incisive papers about systemic inequality and advocacy for progressive reforms. She's dressed in a sharp blazer, her posture confident yet approachable, her eyes scanning the crowd with determination and warmth. Thornton is a darling of academic progressives, celebrated for her work on how institutional structures perpetuate disadvantage. Opposite her is Elon Musk, the tech mogul, CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI, and a polarizing figure whose blunt ex-posts and unfiltered takes on culture have made him a global lightning rod. Musk sits slightly slouched, his suit casual, his expression a mix of amusement and intensity, like a man who's seen the future and isn't impressed by the present. His critics call him reckless, his supporters see him as a visionary dismantling ideological dogma. The audience is visibly split. Some clutch signs supporting Thornton's call for equity, while others wear shirts with Musk's quotes like, "Free speech is the bedrock of truth." Langston, relishing the tension, invites Thornton to open. She rises, her voice clear and deliberate, carrying the weight of years in lecture halls and activist circles. She begins with a personal anecdote, recounting her experience as a graduate student witnessing the casual exclusion of minority peers in academic settings. It's a humanizing touch, and the audience listens intently, especially a group of younger attendees nodding empathetically. She argues that universities, as society's intellectual engines, have a moral duty to rectify historical injustices. Woke culture, she says, is a misnomer, a term weaponized to dismiss efforts to make institutions inclusive. She cites a 2023 study showing marginalized students report higher stress and lower academic performance due to microaggressions. Subtle, often unintentional slights that accumulate like death by 1,000 cuts. Thornton insists that policies like mandatory diversity training, inclusive language guidelines, and safe spaces aren't censorship but tools to create environments where everyone thrives. Free speech, she acknowledges, is vital, but not absolute. Hate speech laws exist for a reason, and universities must balance open discourse with the harm of offensive rhetoric. She ends with a challenge to Musk, accusing him of trivializing oppressed groups' experiences by framing their demands as oversensitivity. Part of the audience erupts in applause, though others sit stone-faced. Musk leans forward, his fingers drumming lightly on the table, a faint smirk playing on his lips. When he speaks, his voice is direct, almost conversational, but laced with a tech bro edge that commands attention. He opens by questioning Thornton's premise, arguing that universities should be truth-seeking machines, not social justice incubators. Drawing on his experience building companies like SpaceX, he describes how relentless problem-solving, not ideological conformity, drives progress. "You don't get to Mars by policing words," he quips, earning chuckles from the crowd. He tackles Thornton's microaggression framework, citing no studies but leaning on logic. Perceptions of harm are subjective, and teaching students to see every slight as a crisis creates fragility, not strength. Life is tough. The universe doesn't care about your feelings, he says, gesturing broadly. If you can't handle a mean word, how will you handle reality? A few audience members clap, but a young woman in the front row shakes her head, scribbling furiously in her notebook. Langston prompts Thornton to respond. Her tone sharpens, accusing Musk of oversimplifying systemic power dynamics and ignoring data. She brings up the gender pay gap, citing a 2024 report claiming women earn 82 cents for every dollar earned by men. The audience leans in, sensing a trap. Musk doesn't flinch. He leans back, almost theatrically, and launches into a dissection of the pay gap, referencing analyses that account for career choice, hours worked, and occupational segregation. Women choose different paths, biology and culture shape that. It's not a conspiracy, he says, his tone blunt. He concedes discrimination exists but argues the gap is mostly individual differences, not systemic oppression. Thornton interjects, pointing out societal pressures shape those choices, but Musk cuts in, if you want to close the gap, propose a policy that doesn't screw over merit. Go ahead, name one. The audience gasps, applause breaking out, though boos pierce the noise. Thornton's jaw tightens. She counters that Musk's individualism ignores centuries of socialization, but her response feels more impassioned than precise. The debate shifts to free speech, and Musk seizes the moment. He recounts his 2022 acquisition of X, framing it as a fight to preserve a digital town square where ideas, good, bad, or offensive, duke it out. Censorship is a slippery slope. You start with harmful words, then it's harmful ideas. Next thing, you're burning books, he says, his voice rising. The audience is riveted, especially a group of tech enthusiasts in the back nodding vigorously. He contrasts this with Thornton's curated discourse, arguing it creates echo chambers where dissent dies. He invokes no literary giants, just his own ex-posts. The truth doesn't survive in a cage. Thornton counters that free speech isn't a free-for-all. Societies draw lines, from libel laws to bans on incitement. Universities, as communities, have a right to protect vulnerable students. Musk pounces, asking her to define harm and who enforces it. Today it's pronouns, tomorrow it's criticizing the wrong politician. Where's the line? The audience erupts, applause deafening, though pockets of dissent remain among younger attendees. Langston